Hello, welcome to TisTalk.
This is a podcast coming from Tisbury, Wiltshire and surrounding villages. I'm Julianne Murphy.
And I'm Mary Myers.
It's the week beginning Monday the 21st of October.
So, Maxwell Steer.
The formidable Maxwell, Mary. You had a good chat with him.
Yes, I did. And he is such a character, and it's really about time that we had him on. So it was really nice to do an interview with him ahead of this choral weekend of Mozart that's coming up.
Taking place at St John's.
Yes, at St John's Church. So Maxwell Steer is a composer and a great musician.
Teacher.
A teacher of piano. And he's also very instrumental. Ha ha ha. Bit of a joke there.
Yeah, really funny, Mary.
In this charity called Cherubim Trust. Anyway, so we had a good chat.
And of course, Maxwell is married to Maxwell Steer, who we've had on the show before.
Yeah, great BAFTA winner person.
Yeah.
And then better humour now with the Yew Tree. We have Yew Tree number 4, Liz Colcamp.
And this week it is...
Monarchies and Monasteries, about King Alfred and the Vikings. Then we have Kate Gamm, who's talking about a relatively new exhibition at Messums, all about oceans.
Oh, that looks interesting. We're going to have to get ourselves down there to have a look. It really does look interesting, actually.
Yeah, it does. We also have an easy fitness tip from Wendy Spencer-Smith, a quick appeal from the local Link transport scheme, they're desperate for drivers, and an update on fundraising by the Tisbury Bowls and Croquet Club. And then we have the What's Ons.
Great.
First up, we welcome Maxwell Steer, who's the man organising this weekend's Mozart choral concert.
Well, it's Sunday the 27th at 6 o'clock. It is a huge concert in the church of Mozart, which features one half of his sacred music and the other half is music from his operas. It's being performed by the Cherubim Chamber Choir, who are local volunteer singers, and the Cherubim Chamber Orchestra, of which the strings and woodwind are comprised of Cherubim Young Musicians, which is to say musicians to whom Cherubim Music Trust lends instruments. And the brass in this instance are local professionals, but it's the largest orchestra we've ever fielded. It'll be about 32 people, and it's going to be, I think, really colossal fun. We also have professional singers from London. We'll have a sextet of professional singers who will be doing arias from the Mozart operas, and there will be a violin concerto, Eine kleine Nachtmusik, some music from the Requiem, and the most exciting thing we're doing is the finale of Don Giovanni, where the Don gets taken down into hell, in which the chorus will be doing all the female parts, all the ladies who've been stood up by the Don or otherwise abused. And so that's going to finish, as I say, with Don Giovanni going down into hell. So that's the end of the concert. So there's a local dimension to this, and that is that Cherubim Music Trust was founded in Tisbury by my wife Clancy. So we run it from here, but most of the people actually are at colleges, different places around the country. And nowadays, quite a lot of people at Wells Cathedral School have our instruments. So there will be quite a few people coming over from Wells. We started putting on the choral weekends, partly as a way of expanding the trust and making a festival, because at that stage when we started, which was about 2018, we didn't have enough instrumentalists to really make an orchestra. So it was a way of using our instrumentalists as a complement to his singers. And we focused on each occasion on a different composer. Last year we had a hugely successful Handel concert in Warder Chapel. And so Mozart is the next one this time because it's a bigger orchestra. And this time we do have enough instrumentalists to form nearly all the orchestra. And probably next year, if we do it next year, we probably won't have singers and we will just have an orchestral concert because we shall be able to field a full orchestra by then.
Right.
I used to work in broadcasting, and I was first of all a composer writing music for drama and so forth. And in those days, which is in the 1970s and 80s and 90s, there was an awful lot more stuff on the BBC, which our Tory government has made sure no longer exists, because the funding of the BBC, as everybody knows, has been cut by 30% over the last 10 years. And although they've valiantly struggled to continue a music output, it is reduced immensely from what it was in the days when I got quite a lot of employment out of them. So that's what I did. And then I got into script writing and into producing and so forth. And I did all that. And then in about 1990, I decided that I really didn't want to do that any longer. And Clancy, my wife, who, as many people know, is a costume designer, she was working a lot in other parts of the world. And we decided to move out of London and come down here. And so that's how the 30 happiest years of our life began. We have loved the community here, and the fact that I've been teaching piano has made me helpful to quite a lot of people, and the opportunity to contribute hopefully something of value to young people's lives has been really its own reward.
You're carrying on doing it. So not has been, but is.
It's true. The thing is, I do continue to teach, but I don't mind the fact that the teaching has diminished somewhat, because running Cherubim has really taken over, and we now have 60 instruments, and that takes a lot of administration. But we have a team of people working with us, and a deputy director who's in charge of the instruments.
Right. Yeah.
So the Cherubim started by buying instruments as a result of donations. But as we've become better known, more and more people have been offering us instruments for loan, instruments they don't want to sell, that can be then onwardly loaned to young musicians. And that has enabled us to expand exponentially. The reason why this event is taking place in Tisbury is partly because we have put on something of a music festival in the autumn, which has drawn our awardees from around the country to come here, and is very much enjoyed by local people. It's been attended now by certainly hundreds of people.
On to the fun questions now. So, what would you say was your favourite view, Maxwell?
Probably, of many favourite views, one of the loveliest is coming in over Lady Down and down the hill beside Messums.
Okay, so now what about a disc that you take to visit?
Here's a question. Do any of us have discs any longer?
Oh, okay.
When we have iTunes?
Quite. Okay, well...
But I will tell you, and this is hot off the press, I think my current favourite is Salisbury assistant organist John Challenger's new recording of Holst's Planets, arranged by himself for organ, recorded on the organ of Salisbury Cathedral. It totally realises Holst's orchestral colours on the organ. It just is a wonderful performance, and somebody's done a video of it on YouTube as well, with atmospheric stuff in the cathedral.
Oh, great.
Sensational.
Oh, well, great. Now, what about likes and dislikes about Tisbury? Likes first, or just one like? Main like?
I think the main like about Tisbury is the extraordinary sense of community. How friendly, for instance, the boot is, and what a good community feeling there has been about the carnival. I met a man on the station once, and he said, well, I live in Cardiff, but I think there's more going on in Tisbury than there is in Cardiff.
Really? Yeah. And any dislikes?
Well, you could say Range Rovers.
Okay.
On the other hand, if it wasn't for the Range Rovers, would we have a Tisbury High Street?
Good question. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Now, what about this, completing this phrase? Not many people know this about Tisbury, but...
Well, I mean, almost everybody knows that it has one of the oldest yew trees in the country, so that's hardly a secret.
Quick fire.
Here's
Okay.
actually one more.
Yes, okay, go on.
Here's one more, not many people know this.
Yes.
In the first census, Tisbury had the highest concentration of Catholics anywhere in the country.
Oh, when was
1852.
that? Oh, yeah. Now, quick fire, Maxwell. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Football or rugby?
Neither.
Beer or wine?
Beer.
And radios 1, 2 or 3 for music?
You would like to say Radio 3, but that is so dumbed down now, I can hardly bear to say so.
But is there an alternative on radio?
No.
No. So classic FM, no.
Far worse.
Yeah. So where do you go to?
iTunes.
iTunes. Yes.
Yes, no, I mean, Radio 3, the new controller has really... it's unbearable.
Right. Oh dear. Okay, I'll cut that out. Thank you.
No, leave it in.
All right. Okay.
Be controversial.
All right. Thank you very much, Maxwell.
Cheers.
And that was a short extract from Gustav Holst's The Planets, played on the Salisbury Cathedral organ by John Challenger.
This is TisTalk from Tisbury, Wiltshire.
Next, we're delighted to present Liz Cole-Camp with the 4th episode of the Yew Tree Chronicles. This week, our Tisbury Yew remembers some very scary Vikings.
You see me standing here in my majestic loveliness and perhaps think, nice tree, shame about the concrete. But what you forget is that once I was so important to people that my twigs and sometimes even branches were broken off and included in burials because of my magical qualities and symbolic importance. I heard tell that a Celtic chief ate some yew berries, not my berries I hasten to add, and he ate them quite successfully, poisoning himself rather than submit to the Romans. That's the sort of central, if not lethal, role yews had in society. Well, slowly but surely those days of glory and infamy ended. The first church here in the village of Tisbury went up, and my popularity definitely went down. But because this was already a venerated site, due to me, mind you, the knew very little and what you might consider a shack of a church brought the people down to this north side of the river, and I rarely felt alone or lonely. Well, dates mean nothing to a tree, as you know, but around 700 AD, a monastery was found on what you would now know as Church Street, and then suddenly those little monks were everywhere, busily fussing about. All seemed to be going swimmingly for a few hundred years, and I swayed and watched, minding my own business and keeping various creatures who were immune to the poison, fed with my berries and sheltered with my leaves. So I was playing my part in the circle of life, if no longer in the circle of human life. And then, around the 9th century, something truly awful happened. Those poor old and young monks were slaughtered in their beds one night by a totally out of the blue Viking attack. It was utterly terrifying. Even now, all these millennia later, I can still hear their screams and my own terror as men running around with torches, no regard for health and safety when it comes to bare flame near a tree. Well, that was the end of the monastery. It was burnt to the ground, and there is no glossing over the fact Tisbury took a long time to recover. Meanwhile, the Vikings carried on with their rampaging throughout the southwest. Alfred the Great, and not so modest, our Anglo-Saxon King of Wessex, was even forced to flee when Guthrum, the Viking king, launched a surprise attack on Alfred's base in Chippenham. Oh, yes, these were dark, dark times in our history. But eventually, Alfred the Great's forces fought the Vikings successfully. Yay! And they retreated back from whence they came. There is something important you need to know about Alfred the Great, and that is, in 888 he built the abbey in Shaftesbury for his daughter Ethelgifu to be abbess there, and by 984 AD the abbey owned all the land around here, including Tisbury. The tithe barn, you know that, and Place Farm down the road were built by the 13th century and by the abbey and the residing abbess of that time, and Tisburians paid their taxes and rents in that very barn. Before that, though, and half a century after the Vikings, another invader hits these shores. A date so famous, even I know it. 1066. Yes. Well, next week, I'll tell you about the Normans.
The Yew Tree Chronicles.
You're listening to TisTalk from Tisbury, Wiltshire.
Here's Anne Martin with a short appeal on behalf of the Link scheme.
I'm sitting with Alistair Brown today talking about Link, the wonderful service that we have in Tisbury for taking people to medical appointments.
The enjoyment of talking to people that you, in many cases, never met before. And you can really find out so much about Tisbury, history, the people, the individuals, and it makes one's whole job of being a driver very satisfying. I just enjoy it enormously.
Good. So Link is desperately in need of drivers. So if you feel that you could help Link, please call this number 07484 284 670 or email tisburylink@gmail.com. We really hope to hear from you soon at Tisbury Link. Thank you very much, Alistair.
I've enjoyed it enormously, and I would recommend people to join Link. Very satisfying, very enjoyable.
Find us on Facebook at TisTalk Listeners and Fans.
Now Kate Gamm reviews a new exhibition at Messums of Tessa Campbell Fraser's Wales, A Deeper Dialogue.
The ongoing sculpture season at Messums Gallery continues with a new installation by sculptor and environmentalist Tessa Campbell Fraser. Tessa's work shares her concerns over the impact of climate change on both humans and animals. In this exhibition, 3 large sculptures of sperm whales, created from recycled and repurposed materials, are suspended high from the ceiling in the tithe barn, such that they appear to be floating in mid-air. The materials she uses to create the whales are ironically those that can cause them harm, such as discarded fishing gear and netting. Something beautiful has been created from thoughtless action. The soundscape you can hear in the background is taken from Tessa's trip to Dominica, where she swam with whales and recorded the way they communicate with each other. She recorded these sounds using an idea based on an early recording device. The idophone was an ingenious invention from the Victorian era that translates sound waves into a visual image. You can see these images on the hangings that surround the whales. It's a fascinating way to capture sound as a visual medium. Despite the powerful environmental statement behind this exhibition, the soundscape creates a sense of meditative calm. It's somewhere to sit and relax as you contemplate the powerful message on display here. Wales, A Deeper Dialogue continues at Messums Gallery until the 13th of January, and entrance is free. Go to be challenged and go to chill.
You're listening to TisTalk from Tisbury in Wiltshire and the Nadder Valley.
Now, as you may have read in the Salisbury Journal, our local croquet club, that was formally opened by James May back in 2022, has launched a campaign to raise £5,000 to help it complete crucial renovation works. I caught up with David Morley down at the croquet club to find out more.
We have started well. We've got a very good start in the first 2 weeks with it. But now we've almost effectively run out of the families and friends that have been generous with their pledging. And now we really come to the village community, because this is an asset to the village. It's not actually something which will benefit individuals in the club, other than the fact that if we don't do it, the club will fail. We're always asking people to come along and play and try it out for themselves, see what it's like. We're not necessarily just looking for people to join and play as members of the club. We just want to introduce them to croquet. It is a great sport. Yeah. Why aren't you playing?
Now there's a challenge. And if you want to support the campaign for croquet in Tisbury, search for Campaign for Croquet, and 4 is a figure, a number, Campaign for Croquet on the crowdfunder site. And just before we end with the what's-ons, here's Wendy Spencer-Smith with a simple fitness challenge for you.
So hi there, this is Wendy Spencer-Smith, and these are my fitness tips for you to try this week. So I've got a cardiovascular challenge for you this week. So I appreciate that sometimes it's difficult for people to get out and about and to walk. And sometimes we take our car when maybe we might prefer to walk, but we can't because we're challenged time-wise and we need to do quick drop-offs in our car. And so I just thought perhaps we could just find 10 minutes where we could take a walk. Now, I started to think about this, and I trained for the marathon back in 2013 when I had 5 children, the youngest of which was under a year old. So going out for long runs and things just really wasn't possible for me, and I had to do something in the house. So I had to make this really interesting for myself, and so I would set myself up a running circuit or a walking circuit within my house, and it would take, say, 10 times round my kitchen table, and then I would go off into my garden room and then back again, 10 more times round my kitchen table, and then upstairs to the bathroom and back downstairs again. And I wondered if this would be something that the listeners would be interested in trying to do, setting ourselves a 10-minute challenge around our own houses, finding a circuit that you can take in that 10 minutes. So walking around a table, walking from one room to the next, and just seeing how many times you can do that. Can you keep walking? Can you keep moving for those 10 minutes? We really don't need to have to be in the gym on a treadmill, and we really don't have to be out on the streets walking. I can promise you it's perfectly possible to train in your own house, walking around your living room and your garden room and your kitchen.
And finally, we have the What's On listings.
These are the TisTalk What's-Ons for the week beginning 21st of October. On Tuesday the 22nd, there's chair yoga at the Hinton Hall, organised by the Memory Group. It's free and runs from 11:15 to 12:15. There's also the Carer Cafe, which runs from 10:30 until 12 noon at Beaton's Tea Rooms, which is organised by the Carer Support from Wiltshire Council. On Wednesday the 23rd, there's a pop-up cafe at the Hinton Hall from 10:30 until 12, also organised by the Memory Group. After that, there's a free soup lunch from 12 till 1 at Hinton Hall, also organised by the Memory Group. On Thursday the 24th, there's an RNID hearing aid support session from 10 to 11:30 a.m. at the Nadder Centre. Also after that, there's the Wiltshire Sight Social Group from 11 to 1. Also on Thursday the 24th, there's an Aerial Atlas of Ancient Britain talk by D.R. Abrams at 7:30 at the Victoria Hall. Tickets are £11. On Friday the 25th, there's a Family Friday Light Party, which is played with disco music from 3:30 to 5 p.m. at the Methodist Church. There's also a Tisbury choir concert entitled Faith, Hope and Love, Songs of Inspiration. Doors open and bar for 7 at the Victoria Hall. On Saturday the 26th, there's Tisbury Breakfasters, 8:30 a.m. sharp at Royal Oak, Swallowcliff. There's a talk by Ray Stedman entitled Wilton House, Safeguarding Our History. Reservation is essential with Paul Budd at pvbud, that's double D, at gmail.com. The cost is £18. Coffee Angel's Halloween Cheese and Wine Evening at 7 p.m. also on Saturday the 26th. And don't forget Beaton's Tea Room's Halloween Cocktail Evening next week on Friday the 1st of November. On Sunday the 27th, there's Young Nature Watch, which runs from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. in the Woodland Safari Grovely Wood. For more information and booking space, email youngtnhs@gmail.com. Membership is free for young people. Also on Sunday the 27th, there's a Mozart choral concert at St John's Church at 6 p.m, run by Cherubim Chamber Choir, an orchestra with professional soloists conducted by Harry Bradford. Music includes choruses from the Requiem, Figaro and Don Giovanni. Tickets start at £18 each from cherubimtrust.org.
That's all from us. We've been Julianne Murphy
and Mary Myers, with special thanks this week to Liz Colcamp, Anne Martin, Kate Gamm, Wendy Spencer-Smith and Louis Davison.
You can contact us on tistalkradio@gmail.com.